Welcome to the deep dive. We're here to really cut through the noise on big issues. And today we are definitely plunging into a major one, a controversy that's seriously shaking up the world of boxing. It's something people talk about, sure, but maybe not, with the depth it really needs. The immediate spark, the reason we're talking now, is the news about Jaime Munguia. You know the name. He tested positive for a banned substance. We're talking exogenous testosterone metabolites, found after his fight with Bruno Suras in a urine test. Now, what's really baffling here, and what jumped out from the sources, is that specific test, a post-fight urine test. Especially when you think about Munguia's team, they're pretty experienced. It doesn't quite add up on the surface.
Exactly. And that's why this deep dive feels so necessary right now. Our goal today is to kind of peel back the layers beyond the headlines. We want to explore the really complex, often murky reality of performance-enhancing drugs, PEDs in boxing. So we'll look at the testing itself, the loopholes that seem to persist, what actually motivates fighters, maybe pushes them towards these things, and of course the bigger picture, what it means for the sport's integrity, for the fighter's safety. We're aiming for a clear, engaging look at why this whole issue is still such a bone of contention.
Okay, so let's dive right into that murky landscape then. The Munguia case. Positive for exogenous testosterone metabolites, basically, testosterone from outside his own body, and it came from that post-fight urine sample, the reaction. Well, according to our sources, it's been pretty much collective disbelief, hasn't it? A lot of people are saying failing that test, the post-fight urine one, is just amateur hour if you're actually trying to cheat. They're usually seen as the easiest ones to pass.
No.
So it immediately begs the question, what's really going on with Munguia? Is it just, I don't know, incredible sloppiness? Or maybe something else. We've seen suggestions, maybe accidental contamination, like from those over-the-counter test boosters you can get at, like GNC or CVS.
It's possible. That explanation comes up a lot.
But even if it is accidental, the rules are strict, aren't they? Athletes are responsible, full stop.
Oh.
What goes in their body is on them, so penalties still happen.
And this specific situation really throws the spotlight on the inconsistencies in boxing's drug testing, doesn't it? A urine test like the one Munguia failed, well, it typically only flags substances used in the last, say, 72 hours. Blood tests, on the other hand, they give you a much wider net. They can catch things that hang around in the system for maybe a month or sometimes even longer.
Okay.
But here's the kicker. Not every state, not every commission actually uses blood tests. So right away, you've got this huge inconsistency in how thoroughly fighters are checked.
That's wild.
Yeah. You've got VEDA, that's the Voluntary Anti-Doping Association, run by Dr. Margaret Goodman, generally seen as the gold standard for this kind of independent, voluntary testing in boxing. They've caught more fighters than others. Then there's WADA, the World Anti-Doping Agency, setting global standards, and USADA, more focused on U.S. athletes. Plus, all the different state athletic commissions.
Wow.
It really is a patchwork system. Everyone's got slightly different rules, different capabilities.
So that inconsistency, that patchwork, makes Munguia's positive test even trickier for him. The timing is just awful, right?
Sure bit.
He was just starting to build back some real credit after that big rebound win. This isn't some legend whose legacy is already secure. For Munguia, this is a massive setback, just as he was trying to climb back up.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And if we zoom out a bit from Munguia, it's important to understand what kinds of PEDs we're actually talking about in boxing. It's not just one thing. You've got the obvious ones, like anabolic steroids for muscle and strength, HGH, human growth hormone for recovery, tissue repair. Then there's EPO, erythropoietin, which boosts red blood cells, helps oxygen capacity, stamina, very popular in endurance sports, but useful in boxing too. And various stimulants for focus, aggression, energy on fight night.
Okay.
But then you get into some more specific compounds, like trenbolone, known for making muscles incredibly hard, but it's also really harsh on the liver. And significantly, it can cause virilization in women, permanent masculine changes.
Oh, wow.
And things like drostanolone or masteron, which is a staple for bodybuilders cutting weight. Then there's 19-norendrosterone. That's a metabolite of nandrolone or decadurabolin. This one's kind of notorious. It's nicknamed the nail-in-the-coffin steroid
Why is that?
because it stays detectable for ages. We're talking 6 months, maybe over a year, sometimes even 18 months after you take it.
18 months.
Yeah, long after the main effects are gone. But it also has this positive effect on ligaments and tendons, which, for a fighter taking constant punishment is a big draw.
I can see that.
And, one of our sources mentioned a client using clomiphene. This was prescribed by a doctor. The effects reported were just dramatic. Eliminated brain fog, huge energy increase, sleeping perfectly, mental clarity, and gained 14 pounds of muscle in 6 months.
14 pounds.
Yeah. And the client specifically said an athlete would 100% know they were on something. The positive changes were just too profound to miss.
That brings us to the really uncomfortable question, doesn't it? In a sport that's supposed to be about skill, courage,
Hmm.
why do fighters turn to this stuff? Sometimes even when they'd rather not. One source put it so bluntly. Is it right to go get yourself put in a coma by not doing it when these guys are doing it? That really hits hard. It frames it as almost a safety issue or a perceived necessity.
It's a stark way to put it, but it reflects a real dilemma, some might feel.
And the training impact you mentioned, it's huge. PEDs help you recover so much faster.
Massively.
Which means you can train harder more often, like multiple sessions a day, day after day. That obviously leads to better skills, better conditioning.
And it's not just about becoming, superhuman. Really intense training can actually lower your natural testosterone. PEDs can bring that back up to normal or even, supernormal levels.
So you can maintain that peak effort.
Exactly. It avoids that overtraining pitfall. It definitely echoes what happened with Lance Armstrong in cycling. You had clean athletes feeling like they were just getting killed because they couldn't physically match the recovery and output of the guys who were doping.
Which points directly to the loopholes, the inconsistencies in the testing systems themselves that allow this to happen.
Oh, absolutely. They're baked right in. Take the UK, for example. Those urine tests, generally only good for maybe 72 hours back. A doctor in our sources basically said you'd have to be idiotic to get caught in England if you just plan your usage around that window.
That's quite a statement.
Isn't it? And even WADA's random blood tests, which sound much tougher, they have this known blackout window, usually 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. Testers can't knock on your door then.
So you could take something fast-acting.
Exactly. Take something that clears your system by morning, and you're potentially in the clear for that random test. Plus, fighters can use stuff when they're not in camp, or if they're not signed up for year-round random testing, which many aren't. And maybe the most shocking thing, some huge fights, millions of dollars, millions of eyes on them, like in Texas or Saudi Arabia recently, reportedly had no drug testing at all.
No testing for major bouts.
That's what's reported. And it all comes back to that lack of a single unified governing body in boxing. You've got different rules in different states, different countries, even different cities sometimes. It's chaos for anti-doping.
So who are some of the key figures kind of swirling around in this whole controversy? One name that comes up a lot is Dr. Usman Sajjad. He's a British doctor, worked with big names like Tyson Fury, Conor Benn.
Right, I've seen his name mentioned.
What's really controversial is how openly he's talked about ways to, beat PED tests. The British Boxing Board of Control actually stopped accepting his medicals.
But he's still a licensed doctor. Yep. And he works for a company called Alphagenics, which focuses on treating low testosterone.
Interesting connection.
And he made this, frankly, staggering estimate. He suggested that 80 to 90% of elite boxers use PEDs.
Wow. 80 to 90. That sounds incredibly high.
It does. But he defines PEDs quite broadly. Not just steroids. He includes IV fluids for rehydration, diuretics for weight cutting, growth hormones, even some pre-workout drinks. Still, 80-90%. What makes him say that?
Well, Dr. Sajjad's view seems to be that fighters are, in his words, vulnerable and also very loyal clients. He's the one who shared that clomiphene story we mentioned.
Right, okay.
The client feeling dramatically better, no brain fog, tons of energy, perfect sleep, muscle gain, and that client saying you'd 100% know you were on something. So when you hear firsthand accounts like that describing such undeniable benefits, maybe that staggering percentage starts to feel, well, if not proven, at least more understandable from his perspective, given the pressures and potential rewards in boxing. Okay, let's switch gears slightly to another name often linked to this world. Victor Conte, founder of SNAC, Scientific Nutrition for Advanced Conditioning.
Yes, Conte, Balco.
Exactly. His past with the Balco scandal in the early 2000s is infamous. He admitted providing undetectable steroids, got convicted.
Right. Did time for it.
He's since tried to reposition himself as an anti-doping advocate, but that history, it casts a really long shadow, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It creates suspicion around fighters linked with SNSC now.
Yeah.
People like Terrence Crawford, Devin Haney. They get questions because of Conte's past.
But it's important to note, right, while the accusations fly, actual hard evidence, like positive tests for current SNSC fighters, it's rare. Amir Khan tested positive, but he was a former client.
That's a crucial distinction. The association invites speculation, But positive tests for his current top guys haven't really materialized as far as we know.
It's complicated.
And tying this into the bigger narrative, boxing often searches for its own Lance Armstrong figure, someone who dominated, perhaps under suspicion. And the name that comes up most frequently in that context is Manny Pacquiao.
Yeah, I've heard that comparison.
There were precision allegations, particularly around his jump through weight classes. Claims of significant muscle gain, like maybe 15 pounds of lean muscle in just 8 or 9 months, back around 2009, between the Marquez II and De La Hoya fights.
That's a lot of muscle, fast.
It is. And the parallel people draw is this. Cycling went after Armstrong relentlessly. But the allegation is that boxing never really made that same concerted effort to investigate Pacquiao, despite some pretty dramatic physical changes people pointed to.
So what does all this mean for the sport itself, looking at the system? One massive problem seems to be the lack of consistent punishment, right?
Definitely.
It makes boxing look like a laughingstock sometimes, the sources say, because guys test positive, serve a maybe short ban, and then just come right back.
Often to big paydays.
And organizations like VEDA, who you said are great at catching cheats, they can't actually punish them, can they?
No, they don't have that authority. They can report findings, but they can't issue bans or suspensions. That's up to commissions, sanctioning bodies.
And they face lawsuits.
Constantly, from high-powered lawyers representing the fighters. It makes their job, which is already tough and expensive, even harder.
So the consequences aren't really there or aren't consistent.
And the financial incentives, they're enormous. And they often seem to outweigh everything else. Top stars, even after a positive test, they're usually not blackballed. They often come back to huge fights, sometimes their biggest career paychecks. Alexander Povetkin's a good example. Served a ban, came back, made millions in big fights. Now he's serving another period of ineligibility until 2028, linked back to a positive sample from 2014.
Wow, 2014.
Yeah. And you even have some lower-ranked fighters admitting, basically, that the money is so crucial, they probably sign a contract saying he can use all the drugs he wants just to make sure a fight gets over the line.
Just to secure the payday.
It shows you the economic pressure. And then there's that perpetual out-the-excuse machine. Almost every positive test gets spun as accidental contamination or tainted supplements.
Right.
It leads to this cynical view that in boxing, nobody ever cheats. It's always an accident.
And if we broaden out again, these PED issues, they seem like symptoms of a wider governance problem in boxing, don't they?
I think so.
It's the same kind of environment that allows, say, spectacles like Jake Paul fighting Mike Tyson, who's much older, or lets veterans keep fighting way longer than perhaps they should, like Oliver McCall, 59 years old, 77 fights, or Ike Ibebuchi at 52.
And the commissions just sign off on these.
If the basic medicals are met, often yes. Despite the obvious risks we can all see, it points to a system that maybe isn't prioritizing fighter safety or long-term health as much as it should.
And the frustrating reality is, boxing hasn't really tackled these deep-rooted issues historically. And right now, it just doesn't seem fashionable, as one source put it. The focus is all on the next big fight, the mythical and meaningless PPV ratings, rather than fixing the fundamental problems of integrity and safety.
Okay, so wrapping this up, what are the key takeaways from this deep dive? We've definitely seen that boxing's testing systems, well, they exist, but they're full of inconsistencies, loopholes. Cheaters seem to find ways through.
Yeah, it's far from foolproof.
We've explored the powerful financial incentives that can just steamroll concerns about safety and fair play. It creates that bad dilemma for fighters feel pressured to use Zeus just to compete or even stay safe against someone who might be enhanced.
A terrible choice to face.
And it's become really clear, hasn't it, that PEDs in boxing aren't just about getting a slight edge. They fundamentally change the game. They affect recovery, how hard you can train, how much skill you can develop because of that training. It goes way beyond just raw talent. It can impact who even survives the training camp, let alone wins the fight.
Absolutely. It changes the physical equation completely. Which leads us to a final thought, really. Given this incredibly complex web, the motivations, the systemic flaws, the real dangers, how do we as fans, as observers, square our desire for a clean sport with the harsh realities these fighters face? What does the truly ethical, truly safe future for boxing even look like? And how on earth do we get there if the sport itself seems content so often to just look the other way? Something for all of us, I think, to keep reflecting on.